The FBI raided a county election facility in Georgia looking for ballots and other records from the 2020 election. Fulton County officials gave an update on the situation earlier today.
Now, we do not know where our election records have been taken or what will happen to them now that they're out of our control. While they were here, they were safe and they secure. Once they left Fulton County, our election center, I don't know where they are. I don't know who has them. I don't know what they're doing with them. We can no longer be held responsible for those ballots and other data that was seized yesterday. But what I'm hoping that we will stand together to ensure that no data is ever weaponized.
Now remember, President Trump claimed several times that he won Georgia during the 2020 election. And again, there is no evidence to support the president's claim, and Republican officials in the state disputed it. CBS News correspondent Skyler has the latest on this raid.
Fulton County officials say that they are still in the dark as it relates to what will be happening to the materials that were seized from the FBI on Wednesday afternoon. We heard from the county chairman, who expressed his concerns about the safety of said materials, while also saying that the county is doing whatever it needs to do from a legal perspective to ensure that voter integrity is protected, as well as poll worker integrity is protected as well. What we know up until this point is that the FBI raided the Fulton County elections hub yesterday at around 12:30 in the afternoon. They spent most of the day obtaining up to 700 boxes of materials, and additional material that could be tied to the 2020 election. Of course, Fulton County at the time was the epicenter of then President, now President Trump's focus as it relates to the election results, at one point leaning on state officials asking to, quote, find more votes. We have heard from state officials then and now who maintain that the integrity and the results surrounding said election were intact, and the results leading to the eventual election of President Joe Biden were the case. We should also point out that these results have been audited several times. Nothing nefarious has come from it, and so now many here in the state are wondering why this is happening, why it's happening now as well. Should also point out DNI Secretary or DNI Tulsi Gabbard here as well. A lot of questions surrounding why she was on the ground. Should point out that she says that she got a directive from President Trump to be on the ground to ensure the integrity of the election security altogether. Back to you.
Skyler, thank you so much. Okay, I want to bring in CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson. Jessica, it's worth reminding our viewers about a call then former President Trump made to the Georgia Secretary of State to overturn the election results, claiming widespread voter fraud. I want you to take a listen.
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have.
That call was a key piece of evidence in the criminal investigation into Trump's attempts to overturn the election. The president has mentioned the 2020 election often. This came as a surprise, no surprise to many. Can the FBI, though, do this in any county, just come and seize boxes like this?
If they have a search warrant. So there are a lot of state and federal rules regarding the retention of ballots and voter information. And the bottom line, there's a lot of complexity here, but the bottom line is the FBI can come in if a magistrate judge, and that's what happened in this case, if a magistrate judge signs and says there is probable cause to believe that there's a violation of federal law. But otherwise, no, the FBI does not have carte blanche access to voter rolls in every county or state. We should, of course, remember that under the Constitution, it really is the states who are in charge of running elections. And as most people understand, it's actually not even the states, it's county by county. There are different laws in every locality, in every state. And again, those federal retention laws that we talked about, the bottom line, you need probable cause to do so. You need a neutral magistrate to sign off and say, you can go in for this purpose, not as a fishing expedition, but for this specific purpose.
I want to pivot to Minnesota now, where Attorney General Pam Bondi sent a letter to Governor Walz, basically saying they can bring back law and order if he hands over the state's Voter rolls. I mean, to me, Jessica, this sounds like quid pro quo. Is it? And does the state have the power to push back?
So let's take the second part first. Does the state have the power to push back? And the answer is at this point, yes, because the attorney general saying, we hope you do, or we think you should, is not legally operative. And if, in fact, the federal government ever tries to force any state, Minnesota or another state, to carry out a specific federal policy or directive, then you have serious concerns about federalism, about states' rights. So at this point, Minnesota can say, no. The question, I think, really becomes if there is some sort of formal legal mechanism, if there is a subpoena, if there is a warrant. At that point, obviously, the opportunity for any state to say no is very different. But I think right now it really just becomes not a legal question, but a political question if Minnesota basically wants to say, no, those are in our custody and control, and no thank you.
So there's a difference, though, between voter rolls, which is what Bondi asked of Minnesota, and then actual ballots. Those are the ones that were actually taken in Georgia. I think most people expect that the way they voted is kept secret. Nobody knows. Do the Fulton County voters have any recourse here? And should Americans be concerned that the government can see how individuals voted?
Really important questions there. In terms of Fulton County voters, I think that becomes a question as to whether or not they have something called legal standing. But I think depending on, and again, early days in terms of what exactly is happening with these ballots, but depending on what is happening, you could see a claim brought by a state or state officials. That would, I think, be the proper party to say, we don't think that you have the grounds to take these ballots, or there were other ways to take these ballots, or we think there's going to be a misuse of these ballots. Again, reminding everybody that there are state and local laws about ballot privacy, ballot retention. In terms of whether or not people should be worried, what I would say is anytime there's a concern that people might not show up to the polls because they think, well, the government can see my ballot, that in and of itself can have a chilling effect. And we certainly want to move away from that. At this point, I think there's nothing to indicate that there will be blanket opening up of people's ballots and that the government and the public will be able to see who voted for which candidate, the things that we hold most dear in terms of our secrecy.
Jessica Levinson, always great to talk to you. Thanks so much.